Jag minns ju den tid du gav mig life billar, yo. Nu vill jag kunna ge tillbaka allt jag inte kunna ge förut. Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för det, baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. Och det jag lägger av min tid, jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda, baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig.
Peace. Baba Kimo.
Man,
I'm great, man. We got a lot of updating, a lot of catching up to do, man. It's been a while since we've been here for the show. I'm very excited, very excited. But real quick, man, what's going on in the Berg? You know how we start this off.
Oh man, let me tell you, man, a lot has happened in the Berg since the last time we spoke. We had our first annual Orangeburg Lagiti Festival, and man, then sad to say, we lost a couple of family members, but other than that, man, everything is good. The Berg is popping right now, man. The Berg is popping.
Yeah,
A lot of things been going on. I know you heard about what's that young boy named 803 Fresh? He blowing up here in South Carolina. They popping their fans here, man. And that Southern Soul thing is popping right now. South Carolina, boo. Everybody talking about South Carolina right now. Everybody talking about the Low Country. Everybody talking about Orangeburg, and it's things are moving, man. Things are moving.
That's salute, man. That's a big one because usually we don't get the attention. But right now, look like we got the momentum right now, man. Like you said, 803 Fresh, he hitting the nation right now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You got diasporans on the continent trying to get flags made. You hear me? So you know, fans made. They're trying to get fans made over here.
Oh! You got you one over there, Chief?
No. This is a plastic one. But you know, the music is even impacting those of us that's on the continent. You got people out here trying to get fans. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's all good. Let me say, I want to bring out Don real quick. You know, our young researcher, and get an update from him as well. What's going on, Don?
Hey, what's up? It's
all good, man. So as you know, we have the one and only Baba Amin here today, man. How you feel about that?
I feel great about that, man, because at the festival, man, he put it down. His message was so powerful. To this matter of fact, it's crazy because my folks still talking about how inspirational and powerful his message was.
Yeah, man. Definitely. This brother here that we about to bring out is a phenomenon, man. You know, it's very rare that you get brothers from the grassroots that love the people so much where you can see the potential for him to sell out. If he wanted to, he could elevate. This man is a brilliant brother, but he stayed down with the cause, stayed down with the people, and ultimately down with the babies, man, down with the future generations. I have absolute respect and admiration for this brother that we about to bring out. But he's also a hip hop sensation, man. I love to hear his music projects. Does a lot with the RBG culture and movement. You know, can't say enough about the brother, man. But currently residing in Colombia. That's the zone 2. That's the same area we're talking about, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's right next door. Got some big things coming up. I ain't gonna say too much, but before we even bring brother out, man, I want to let y'all feel this track. That he submitted, and tell me what y'all think. Y'all hear that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Speak through me, ancestors.
Yeah.
Speak through me.
I'm gonna just go ahead and mute. I'm gonna vibe out.
All right.
Was an African warrior who refused to be a slave. Back then, enslaved Africans knew who they were, and they did everything they needed to do. Ran to the hills, burned the house down. Anything they had to do to not believe that they were slaves. I pretend to be a Catholic, but Ifa is what I practice. If we truly share the God, then why would they attack us? My captors speak Portuguese, I understand the language. I vow to never speak it cause it represents my anguish. Months on the slave ship, weeks on an island, still haven't broke the warrior spirit I'm disguising. My people call me J-May, others call me Kato. They call the river Stono. They say that if you follow, that you can find the Huru, the end of all your sorrow. A whisper in my ear.
We burn Massa House tomorrow.
Congo yetu, yumbane kwa roho zetu, nili pikana kume, kwa uhuru wetu.
Asante, my descendants, will you make my spirit welcome? The spear was my tool, but my culture was my weapon. Please repeat my story, cause I will not live to tell one. I achieved my glory when I heard them yell rebellion. Asante, my descendants, will you make my spirit welcome? The gun was my tool, but my culture was my weapon. Please repeat my story, cause I will not live to tell one. I achieved my glory when I heard them yell rebellion.
For us, freedom was 200 miles away. At Fort Mose, we just got across the bay. When at night, forcing the fight where they lay. The fright, knowing they might not see the day. We were strong, some of our own we had to slay. They were wrong, spiritually gone and led us straight. I want my throne, this was never my home. That's far away, I'm not alone. Spread out the bones and got our shade at the dock. They tell us to stop, we face to face if we escape. I know they too scared to give a chase. I put Chumo in the ground, the blood go down my face. Cold water, swim daughter, try to keep the pace.
Asante, my descendants, will you make my spirit welcome? The spear was my tool, but my culture was my weapon. Please repeat my story, cause I will not live to tell one. I achieved my glory when I heard them yell rebellion. Asante, my descendants, will you make my spirit welcome? The gun was my tool, but my culture was my weapon. Please repeat my story, cause I will not live to tell one. I achieved my glory when I heard them yell rebellion, rebellion.
Said the gun was my tool, but my culture is my weapon. You hear that?
Yeah,
That's powerful.
man. That was dope.
Bye-bye.
Speak
Gun
through
is
me.
my
That's
tool,
dope, man.
Yeah.
but the culture
That's
is my
dope.
weapon.
Kato
Listen to that right there,
was an
man.
African warrior who refused to be a slave. Back then, enslaved Africans knew who they were, and they did everything they needed to do.
Yeah, that's hard, man.
Ran to
That's
the hill.
hard. We gotta bring Baba out, man. We gotta talk about
Yeah.
this, man. This is sensational, man. This is, it's the kind of music we need percolating. Yeah, I feel all good about 803 Fresh and bringing it back soulful and getting it off the ranchy stuff. But this is right here is the music that's going to elevate the consciousness of the masses all around the world, man. We need this vibe. I'm gonna bring this brother out here. No further ado, Baba Amin. Peace, brother. How you doing?
Peace,
Black.
peace,
You already
peace.
know.
Black love is black power. How y'all doing, man? The Gullah House.
We're doing great, brother. We're doing great, man. It's all love, man. We're very excited to have you here today.
Man, I'm honored to be here, man. Up in the Gullah House, all up in the living room. Got kicking my feet up. You know what I'm saying? Ready to vibe with you brothers, man. You got me vibing over here. You played that Rebellion. You know, hey, shoot, I almost had to pick my dumbbells up and get another set in, man. Y'all get me hyped up here.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, that's tough, man. Even your lives, you always dropping some jewels, but also giving us some music, man. What does that come from? Just to start off, where does the music and mixing the music with the message, where that come from in you? Yeah, like where you get that from?
Man, first off, the creator. The creator, and our ancestors, is something that's in me. When I got engaged in knowledge of self, I was into hip hop, but I really didn't discover my voice in hip hop until I began working in the hood and working in rites of passage programs in the hood. And it was actually my homie L.O. to G back in the day, this early 90s, for y'all time, back in, you know what I'm saying? L.O. to G, he was a brother who I got close with, and he wanted to rap. And he helped me discover my voice as an artist, right?
Okay.
And when I got in the midst of that, we was organizing and organizing gang truces on the streets of Fort Worth. We was providing safe spaces for young people whose parents were ravaged by crack in the prison system. So I got into hip hop in a war zone, where we was literally fighting for our people and was studying knowledge of self at the same time. So I've always done this together. I've never exclusively done music and activism. It's always been the same thing for me. And it's just another avenue to teach through. And since I'm still dope, I still do it.
Hey,
yeah, man. Say that. You definitely
You know,
dope, brother.
I give
Definitely
thanks,
dope.
man. I mean, I do have an MC's confidence. So, you know, and I told my wife, I tell everybody, when I'm whack, when I'm dating, when I start sounding hip hop or hibbity, I'll stop. But as long as my flow coming and young brother like Dominique is bobbing their head saying it's tight, I'm
yeah.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, man. So Baba Timo, man. Go ahead, set it off.
Hey, Baba, I mean, I'm gonna ask you this now. I think I might be a little bit older than you. I might be. Let me ask you a question real quick. How old are you?
I'm 52. I'll be 53 on June 18th.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be 65 on my next birthday. So I was at hip hop from the beginning.
Yes,
I was out there when it first came out, 73, 74, 75. I was there. I knew all them. Well, I'll put it like this. I used to go to all the little clubs back in the day in New York. I grew up in the South Bronx. You remind me of some New York cats that I came up with.
That's
so,
I say.
Like I said, I used to go to all the clubs back in the day. The Fever. I knew KRS-One. He used to hang out across the street from Taft High School. I knew Kool Herc. I used to hang out with him. I remember when he brought Herculoids out. You know, if the youngest don't know, the Herculoids was the big twin speakers that he brought out. But rap in the early, well, not even in the early days, but even before the consciousness came out, it was DJ Kaz and the Cold Crush Brothers. And now for you, you're a little bit younger than me. How did you use hip hop? How did you use hip hop to elevate that consciousness?
But you know, it's always I thank the creator that I discovered my voice in hip hop after I learned while I was studying knowledge of self, because I'm still studying, right? And it was a synergy for me. And I was like, man, this could be a valuable tool. This is another way to teach. So when I got into it, and I want to shout out my brother Zeno G as well, and Kevin Smith of Dallas Cowboys, people who put us on back in the day in DFW, you know, because you know the South, we got to scratch and claw. You know, the in the back of my we didn't play Southern hip hop on the radio or anything like that, but it taught us to be independent. And we had a freedom because I'm like, okay, I don't have to rap what industry cats rap about. I could be myself. I could be as political as I want to. And I didn't have a desire to be on BET or be famous. I only wanted to use it to elevate my people and elevate my community. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I immediately took it to my hood, directly to my hood. And we even opened a studio. One of my first youth programs was called Sound Incorporated, Sounds of Unity and Determination. We opened a studio in the hood, and young people, it was a safe space where young people could come in, record for free as long as it's truth in your music, you know, and we would teach them about the industry, teach them knowledge of self, the whole 9 yards. So hip hop has always been a tool for upliftment for me.
Yeah, man, for sure. That's powerful, especially come out that Lone Star. Come on, that Lone Star, man.
Yeah,
you know,
shout out Lone Star RBG.
That,
Yeah. Shout out to Lone Star RBG, man. We converged, and shout out to Supreme Rock Africa. Shout out to iLeak Africa, Big Said. You know what I'm saying? All my brothers, Lone Star, Baba Bomani, all my brothers in Lone Star RBG. We recognized that was, again, it was a tool that we could use, but we had to use it right. You know, and had to go grassroots with it. And so you saw it, you know, with RBG Family Weekend and how we grew, and was like, you know, the mainstream ain't finna accept our music. We have to become our own mainstream. And the whole thing was to build our own tours, to build our own events, to build our own stages. We physically, by hand, built the stages at RBG Family Weekend and create platforms for conscious hip hop to thrive. The devil ain't gonna bring on music that's gonna topple the empire. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now we got to do it ourselves, and it's simple math, man. 10,000 loyal followers is you'll gain more with 10,000 loyal followers than you ever will with 1 million views and likes.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's the idea behind the RBG music movement. And shout out to the RBG Gumbo, which is out there right now, that Rebellion is featured on, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah. No doubt, man. So I think I wanna Don, you got anything you wanna ask about?
Yeah, I want to know more about Uhuru Academy.
Yes, sir.
And how your work is educating the next generations of African leaders in America. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, my mom, she was so inspired by your message at the festival, man. And I love what you were saying too. I went back and watched it about 3 times to let you know.
Wow.
So, can you talk more about Uhuru Academy? What made you start that?
Yeah, so we founded the Uhuru Academy in 2010, along with my beautiful wife. I have to acknowledge Amin Ojuok. Without her, I would not be sitting here talking to y'all right now. Definitely not with a big smile on my face like I'm doing.
Right.
I'll be a lot more cranky. But I got into the movement working with young people. Shout out to my Jagna, Ricky Clark, and y'all gonna see me. I try to acknowledge those who impacted us along the way. Shout out to my Jagna, Ricky Clark in Fort Worth, Texas, who gave me, and brother Will X of the Nation of Islam, who trained me and got me in front of my first group of young people in Butler in 1991, teaching African history. I learned early on that our people love our history and that young people respond to it when it's taught in an energetic way, right? When it's taught in an uplifting way. And I watched how from learning it that way, it would bleed over into other subjects. Their math got better, the science got better, but most importantly, they got better as people, right? And I've witnessed from Butler, I've witnessed knowledge of self break cycles in families, sisters like my sister Lucretia, who's one of our original Butler kids. They all grown folks now. Shanika, Butler children, people who grew up and they broke the cycle of poverty in their families. They began breaking the cycle of drug use and alcohol abuse in their families, mass incarceration in their families. So I'm a testimony to what knowledge of self can do for our community. But that's a component that's missing in schools. Matter of fact, it's the last surviving blatant Jim Crow law is the ban on Black history being taught in public schools. It ain't written down nowhere, but it's understood that's what that is. So teachers don't even try, And so I got tired over the years being just an after-school program, a summer program, putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds. I work with the Boys and Girls Club, gang intervention. I work with Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County. I even worked at the Juvenile Detention Center. I took it everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm getting a nice paycheck and I get to sprinkle a little bit of this in here at the same time. But that sprinkle is not effective, right? When you could just sprinkle it, you're not getting the transformative impact that you want to have. So eventually, I told my wife and I was like, and we had both, I kind of left the industry and I was working a regular job, AT&T or whatever, right? And I was like, the ancestors are calling me. I have to get back to work. My work, my mission, and we started doing these camps. We started doing Black History camps, and shout out to the Doc Bookshop in Fort Worth, because a lot of everything that I do is built on partnerships with Black people, right? Because I ain't have no money, right? So shout out to the Doc Bookshop that we had a synergetic partnership where we would hold our Black History camps there, right? We started having we started the Temple of New African Unity there, right? And then the youth used to come in, they say, Baba, we having school this summer? We having school this summer? They wouldn't call it camp, they called it school. And I was like, man, that baby trying to tell me something, right? And so I'm like, no, we're about to start school. We're going to start a school. And I remember just sitting at my desk one day and like, what are we going to call it? And it just came to me, Uhuru Academy. Uhuru is Swahili for freedom, right? What, and then I said, well, what is freedom? And then a voice says, not doing whatever you want to do. Another voice said, freedom is responsibility. Right? We need to teach our generations how to be responsible for our upliftment, responsible for our families, responsible for the community. Freedom is responsibility. So I founded the Uhuru Academy in 2010. I left my job, right? And within a month, my wife left her job too, because she wanted to join me in the trenches, right? Now we sitting up, at the time, we got 5 children, right, that we have to take care of, no funding, right, but we had the ancestors, right, and without going into too much detail, y'all want, because I could talk the whole show, the ancestors have always been there. When we founded the Uhuru Academy, it was in the back of an alternative school. I partnered with my Jagna, Ricky Clark. He had a contract. I said, man, I'll teach a class in your school if I can start my school in that back room. And we literally started an underground school.
That's what's up.
Moved to a church, and then from the church, we moved to a little greenhouse in Stop 6, the Stop Six community I grew up in Fort Worth is a little house that the Blood Gang had started out of, and that was a trap house. Well, the OGs got wind, and shout out to Terrence Montgomery, brother behind the wall right now, but the OG from our neighborhood, he donated that house to us, and we converted that house into our first schoolhouse. You know what I'm saying? And we operated out of that house for a couple of years until we moved on to another location. You know what I'm saying? And so we employed what we call the community classroom when we found the Uhuru Academy. You know, we had the little house where we met at, but then we went to the community center across the street. We went to the library, went to visit businesses in the community. We got everybody involved in the education of our youth. The African-centered approach, or being African-centered, was the foundation. We're going to unapologetically teach our children, masses, guys and gals. We're going to put African history in everything that we do. We're going to look at everything from an African-centered perspective. How does that impact us? Your math, your science, the whole 9 yards, right? And we got crazy results. You know, young people would come to us, their confidence would go through the roof. We had a vision development focus too. Why you at school? Right? So we thought it was very important. Not only do you learn about our past so you can understand our present, but you got to understand your future and have the power to build your future. What are you doing with this? Why are you here in the first place? What's your vision? I want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor? A baby doctor. What do they call that? How do you become one of those? How much school do you need, right? You need to know that by 5th grade. You know, like, what are you? And we would treat them. Like if you said, I want to be an engineer. Well, I called you an engineer every day until you tell me you want to be something else, right? And so what's unique about the Uhuru Academy is not just our focus on learning the past, but our emphasis on the future. I hope that answered your question. I didn't mean to start sounding too much like
that was powerful and that was beautiful, because what you're doing it coincides with what this scholar named Dr. Greg Carr talks about, man. And then you can see in the legacy that our enslaved ancestors did. They had secret underground schools that they would do. So that is powerful. That is amazing. And me and my mom taking a trip up there to see y'all too, man.
Yeah, man, y'all come on down. You know, and we're celebrating our 15th year this year, man. And it's been quite the journey, you know, with the Uhuru Academy. And again, shout out to Lone Star RBG and our Texas family, because attaching ourselves to the RBG movement also opened the door for us to start working with other communities, you know, and helping them start African-centered schools, which is what brought us to Hopkins, South Carolina, 5 years ago, you know, right outside of Columbia. We actually in Hopkins 5 years ago, working with Uhuru Academy, South Carolina, UASC.
Man, that's great, Baba. But I just wanted to ask you real quick. But I'm gonna tell you this. You remind me a lot of myself when I was coming up, because I used to hang out. I used to hang out at the different libraries and bookstores in Harlem when I was coming up. I used to go to Liberation Bookstore. I used to do all those things, man. I used to go to Farrakhan meetings. I used to go to Kwame Ture meetings. Let me ask you this. And you kind of mentioned it just a little bit ago. What actually brought you to South Carolina, to Columbia?
Great, man. I was invited out here to the ASCAC conference a few years ago, right? And I'm gonna tell y'all, like when I got into this, and shout out to a great ancestor, Takuma Umoja, who had a bookstore called Roots and Cultures in Fort Worth, Texas. He was my link to Pan-Africanism. He was my link to the Malcolm X grassroots movement. He exposed me to the Republic of New Africa, that sort of thing. But other than that, I don't have any pedigree in the conscious community, right? I was always kind of like an outcast in the conscious community because I spent all my time in the hood. I didn't go to the conferences. So when I got invited, Brother Salt noticed me on Facebook and invited me out to the ASCAC conference in 2013. I came out, my wife and I, my youngest son was just a baby, and I presented on African-centered education. Well, a lot of our scholars, including my beautiful queen mother, Dr. Marimba Ani, were in the audience that day. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's looking at me but everybody's looking like, who is this dude? Right? Who is this guy? Right? Sitting there talking about he's been running the African Center School for 3 years and with no funding and And so, you know, long story short, a young sister by the name of Keontae Washington, or Keontae Infinite, was there, and they were presenting on starting an African Center charter school here. Well, after I got through presenting, Baba, they came up to me. Keontae was like, I want to do what you're doing, right? And so I invited her out to RBG Family Weekend because we had an ACE conference that year. And her and her husband at the time, Shango, came to Texas. And they went through the conference. And then next thing I know, she's inviting me out here to meet up parents because they were going to be investors in the school. And we pitched the idea to them. And Uhuru Academy, South Carolina was born in 2014, right? And so we continued to consult with them over the years, right? And in 2018, they bought this beautiful 4-acre property out here in Hopkins, and they wanted to convert it into a school. They invited us to come out. It was like, look, we'll give you an acre of land. We'll gift you an acre of land if you could consider relocating your family out here to help us cultivate this school, right? And that's what brought me to saying, and you loaded up the truck and we moved to Beverly. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, get the stuff. Leave. You know, yo, pack it up.
Oh,
you know, I've fallen in love with the Carolinas over the years, coming back and forth out here, working with them. I love the trees. I love the fact that when I go through the drive-through, I see young Black youth in the window. A lot of things that y'all take advantage because y'all been living around a bunch of Black folk all y'all life that some of y'all might take for granted. We was like, oh wow, we don't see this many Black people where we live, you know, and it ain't this green, and it's not that much Black family land where I live. So we were attracted to the Carolinas, especially for our younger children. You know, let's give them something different to look at, you know, and so that's where we've been. And we haven't even done anything on our acre of land yet, y'all. We've lived in a tiny home on the campus for the whole 5 years we've been here.
Wow.
And we love it. Now we've outgrown it. We need some more space. We about to make you know what I'm saying? But that 5 years after all the work we've done in Texas, this has been such relief. The Washington family's been so good to us. Our families out here have been good to us. We were able to take our original students online. We actually started going online in 2016. So by the time COVID hit, we already had students all over the country online live. So we still have Uhuru Academy online with students all over the country and in Africa. We have UASC where my 3 youngest attend, and I teach Black studies over there here on the campus. We live on the campus, circulate our dollars here on the campus, and man, I'm loving it.
Good. Thanks. That's a great answer, man. Great answer.
Black people can work together.
Yes, we can. And
okay, Black people can work together. You know, it takes humility, it takes communication. You know what I'm saying? It takes working through the disagreements, but we can work together.
Okay. Quick question: is it K through 12? My mom want to know.
Yes, we're K through 12 online. Now our campus is K through 8.
Okay.
The physical campus is K through 8. Online is K through 12. Since day one, I've graduated seniors. When we founded Uhuru Academy in 2010. I was like, we're going all the way to 12th grade, you know, because I might get a 3rd grader here, an 8th grader there, a 9th grader here, too, you know, and you know, and I would even tell parents, if your baby didn't pass the state test, then come, bring them to me for a semester. I'll pass them, you know, and folks would look at me like, man, if the state lets you do that, and I'm like, no, the state works for me. The state works for us. We graduate our children. The community can graduate our children. Like, are you accredited? They don't. The state doesn't accredit private schools and home schools. See, it's not just enough to know your rights. You got to have the courage to exercise your power.
Yeah.
Right. And so people ask, where your diploma come from? My computer. That's where it comes from. My printer. It ain't no magic. It ain't no magic white people dust on your high school diploma from public school. That's just a piece of paper with ink on it that says you completed a program. Well, we have a piece of paper with ink on it that says you completed a program, and we're going to put our stamp on you and say you ready. And any college by law that accepts taxpayer dollars have to accept private and homeschool students.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can credential our own children. We just got to have the courage to stand up with it, stand up to it. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I couldn't hear that. I think Chief was trying to say something. I couldn't hear him.
Okay. So yeah, so that's what it is, Dominique. You know, sometimes you got to ask for forgiveness, not permission. So we didn't ask for permission to graduate our own children, right? Well, I went and created a relationship with our local community college. Why? Community college is inexpensive. Community college, your financial aid to cover the whole thing. You might get some money left in your pocket. And most community colleges will offer certifications as well as degrees. You see what I'm saying? And so we created a relationship with our local community college, and I just started funneling people into the community college system through our school, right? Through the Uhuru Academy. They never asked any questions. Long as my transcript said what it needed to say, and we put that stamp on them, we didn't have any questions. And also, our students went and they did well because we built them up on the inside before they went. So it wasn't about did they know geometry. It was about did they know themselves.
Right.
Did they know why they were there? Half of 50% of Black youth that go into the college system drop out within the first semester.
Yeah.
Right. And the primary reason is they really don't know why they're in college. They just go because they got accepted to one. And they were told that you're supposed to go to college. But then they get there and they say, man, this ain't for me. And then you're villainized for that. Now you're a failure. Exactly. Now you didn't make it. But like for example, with the Uhuru Academy, y'all, you can't even graduate without a plan. I don't care about your math and reading scores. I care about it, but not nearly as much as I care about your plan. Our seniors have to present a slideshow presentation on what they plan to do with themselves when they leave our school. They have to present it to us, their family, and any other community members vested in their future. And only when we vote yay on your plan will you be able to graduate.
Oh man, that's dope, man. That's dope. That's dope.
That's powerful. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. Hey man, you have a very powerful story, brother. Very powerful story. But I wanted to put some things in context as well because you know we're local historians. You know, we study the history of our ancestors, study the history of the ground that we're on. And the main reason that we do it, brother, is because a lot of people think it's crazy for us to be in the Midlands or in the, you know, where we are, the Orangeburg area, digging in. But it's a real reason why we're doing that. There was a woman named Mary Sims Oliphant. Okay. And she was born like 1891. She died in like 1988. But throughout the 20th century, she was like the czar over South Carolina education, particularly the history. She wrote the official history book that was taught in South Carolina schools. Now, she was the granddaughter of a man named what's his brother's name?
Sims.
William Gilmore Sims. Mm-hmm. Some booker, his name William Gilmore Sims. He was the top author for the Confederates in the 1860s, 1800s. He was one of the top cracker authors ever. Yeah. And so they dominated the historical narrative that was taught to us in South Carolina throughout the 20th century through this booker's granddaughter. Mm-hmm. The reason why I mention it is because we also do genealogy, and one of my cousins was a servant for her for 50 years. They took her when she was like 13 years old from my family, and she was right there in Greenville, South Carolina, in the house with this woman all the way past the 60s, 50 years. Wow. Yeah. And so there's a lot of deep things in South Carolina pertaining to the history they don't want us to know. We've been digging it up because once we start doing the genealogy on our ancestors, we start running into the newspaper accounts. We got to start researching and saying, hold up, man, they ain't teach us this part. Why didn't they teach us about Charles Evans? Why didn't they teach us about, you know? And so it's very important that you're there, particularly because the emphasis on history in South Carolina is really what's going to awaken the people, because deep inside of our culture, we already know what happened to us. But we also know that we've been taught the official version of the enemy. Right. And so, I want to put that in context before I ask my next question, brother, because that's the space you're operating in. It's the next century. Baba Amin is from Fort Worth. You got a natural ancestral calling to be where you at right now. Yeah, that's right. Your story, this ain't you working, bro. This the ancestors working through you. That's right. Understand? Yes. And so you on a divine mission. If you in South Carolina is highly neglected in terms of particularly historical education. Yeah. And this is what everybody is fighting for, from Damon Fordham to Dr. Curry. Grassroots educators are focusing on making sure that we use history as a way to awaken the next generation. Same way you're doing, man. And we need that leadership on the ground.
Yeah.
So my question is for those out there, because we hear it a lot, African-centered consciousness and education. In your own words, how can you contextualize what that is for like the average person who really is just coming into the concept for the first time? African-centered consciousness, and then the role of African-centered education, because I think that right there help us understand what we're getting to.
Right. When I talk to people coming into it for the first time, a lot of times there's an initial fear because of conditioning of the term African, right? And because you have black people to tell you, I'm not an African. Don't call me African. I'm just black. Don't call me, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get into that debate with them, right? So when I present African-centered consciousness, what I say is it's basically looking at the world through the lens of the people that we come from. We just say African because that's what's familiar. And I'll just put that right there, right? But I'll say, but it's about looking at the world through the lens that we come from. For example, when you were in school, you learn about math, they started the first civilization they taught you about were the Greeks, and the Greeks with Pythagoras and that sort of thing. But we talk about black people's walk with math. When did black people start doing math? When did black people get exposed to science? And of course, I know the answer to that question, but I just want to keep their curiosity. So we teach from that. And I tell them, I say, when our students own what they learn, they do better. Yeah. Right. When you take ownership of what you learn, you perform better. You perform better when it's your party than when you're a guest at somebody else's party. Absolutely. Right. You dance harder when it's your party because it's your party. You get to pick the music. It's your party. And so in African-centered consciousness, you're picking your music. You're picking your historical music. You're picking the beat that you want to walk to, the song that you want to sing to, the values that you want to uphold, right? And then I tell them it's really just pulling out the part that's in you that you've been programmed to suppress. Right. Yeah. So Kwame Ture said you can't make nobody conscious. You're pulling the Africa out of people. You're not pouring it in. You're exposing. Black people over here, we do cornrows go back 12,000 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that we can draw things that we've been taught is ugly, but it's really beautiful. When I see brothers who like to have gold in their mouth and gold chains around them, I just show them the statues from Benin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Africa to show the parallels. So when you take that African-centered consciousness, and I'm like, you don't got to put a dashiki on today. No, you know what I'm saying? No, it's about being aware of who you are, whose you are, where you come from, and being proud of that, right? And walking in that. Then when it comes to education, it's the same concept, but now it's like we're guiding our learning based on that framework, right? So it's not the Pythagorean theorem in math, that's the Kemetic theorem, because that's where it came from. It came from ancient Kemet. You know what I'm saying? Now, Nat Turner ain't somebody whose name we don't speak. No. George Washington can't be a hero if Nat Turner can't be a hero. Exactly. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. The Haitian Revolution is one of the greatest events in the history of the world. You see what I'm saying? It's not something we don't talk about it from the French perspective. We talk about it from the perspective of the people of Haiti who won and fought and won that revolution. And we put it in its proper context. Dessalines is a hero. Cecilia Fatima is Ashiro. You know what I'm saying? And so when you start teaching from that African-centered perspective, you're teaching from the perspective of those who are fighting for their freedom, right? Yeah. In all forms. And you ain't got to agree with everybody, right? But you're going to respect everybody. You're going to understand everybody's cause. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what that is. But you come into it as an educator, understanding that in order to teach this, you have to be willing to build the institutions and create the safe spaces in order to do it. And you don't necessarily want all of it in a public school space. You want to put it on Black-owned land. You want to put it in our own spaces where we can be ourselves unapologetically. Y'all, it's some young Jewish kids ain't never touching a public school. They in a Jewish synagogue down in a basement learning how to be hardcore Jews. You know, there are Asian students that ain't never touching. They here right here in America. You ain't seeing them. They at home learn how to be hardcore Chinese, hardcore Vietnamese. You got to raise a vanguard and keepers. You have to raise keepers of the culture. Right here in South Carolina, we have to raise keepers of the culture. There's some great keepers of the culture here. You know, that's why the Gullah culture is still here. It's still strong, and that's why our story here is still strong, because it may not be sprawling institutions everywhere, but if you know somebody, you know somebody. It's folks here that could give you an oral history that'll blow your mind. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we got all these books and fancy computers, but our ancestors wasn't crazy when they understood that oral tradition is one of the most effective ways to pass down information and protect it, and that's still here. And I want to shout out Dr. Abdullah Adesanya and Mama G and others that I've met here that's done a great job. Man, our students at UASC and online, they understand the Gullah Geechee. They understand the technology of rice farming that built this state. I'm reading a book right now called The First Majority. You know, and that's a good that's a good book. Yeah, that's a good book, man. And so this is the epicenter of the Black experience in America is in the state of South Carolina. Period. This is ground zero, right? Right here. There's so much culture, so much history here, right? And I'll be laughing because y'all be like, we need to do this, we need to do that, and y'all be right. But I'm like, y'all miles ahead of some other places I don't be.
Oh, Baba, you the man. You the man. You the man, Baba. You hit the nail on the head, Baba. That was good. I like that.
So I was taught by one of my J-Ignites, Ricky Clark, there's nothing wrong with us that what's right with us can't fix. Right. And we have to be mindful that we don't get so caught up in what's wrong with us that we forget what's right with us, because all our solutions are there.
Yeah, man.
All our solutions are with what's right with us. And so, so a part of doing this thing, Mansa, and really organizing here in South Carolina, right, is us taking a real resource evaluation. What do we have? And how do we build on what we have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And fully appreciate it. Baba, Kimo.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you in particular, since you out there in Orangeburg and you leading the way out there, how can we connect what Baba Amin got going on right now in terms of the Uhuru Academy, the campus? I think the question is basic, but what can we do as a movement? Ganona, Uhuru Academy. I know we can do the festivals. I know we can do, like, for instance, Dominique's parents and family going up to visit and things like that. But in terms of like real solutions, like, I know we got access to some land right now, and Baba Amin them got access to some land right now. Baba Kimo, we come from a farmer's background. We got to figure out how we're going to feed ourselves. I want to ask you, like, how best can we integrate some of that agricultural knowledge into what Baba Amin is teaching as well?
Well, man, I'm just gonna say this: we done already started, man. We done connected with Baba Amin. We connected with several other individuals and groups around the Low Country, around the Orangeburg area. So now all we got to do is make it happen. That's all we got to do. I mean, Baba Amin done already started it off when he came to the festival and told us that we found a spot. We found a spot. So now all we got to do is jump it off.
Yeah.
And you know what? When we started the Gullah Festival, the Geechee Festival, it was just an idea in our heads. We didn't have no idea. We had put it out there amongst ourselves, and we just started contacting different people, and we came together on the strength. It was all volunteerism of That's the best way I can put it. We all just came together and said, let's make it happen. And now we connecting with Amin. We connected with that brother Kamau Shakur.
My brother
Curry. We done connected with several individuals, and now we out there at the Cosmic Green Spot. All I can say is now, let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, we old school, and that's how the old school players did it. You know, we ain't had no money back in the day. We ain't had no money back in the day. Going back to the hip hop thing, I remember, man, we used to come out on the corner, hook the turntables up to the street light, and brothers would beat on the mailbox or whatever, and we just made it happen. Next thing you know, somebody kicking some conscious thought, somebody saying this, somebody saying that, and it just happened, man. It was a grassroots
organic
thing. Baba, I'm gonna tell you, you know who you remind me of, man. When I was coming up, I used to listen to the Last Poets.
I
used to listen to all that.
Yeah.
And man, I know you're younger than me, man. And
wake up, N-words are we all through. Come on, man.
Man, I'm an uptown cat. Y'all. You know, I try to relate things to New York because I came up in the South Bronx, and it's encouraging to me to see the younger generation from down south, from South Carolina, from Texas. I spent a little time in Texas, and tell you the truth, I ain't know Texas was that live. You know, when I was in the military,
it wasn't.
I was in the military one time, man. I was hanging out in the military in the mid 80s, 83, 84, 85, 86. I had some good times in Texas. And, at that time, man, I was young. We was just kicking it. You know, we was doing our thing.
Yeah.
And like I say, man, you just remind me of a lot of young brothers.
Give thanks.
That I won't say they was under my wing, because I was under the wing of cats older than me, because I used to hang out with the OGs when I was coming up.
Right.
That's who I hanged out with. You know, I hanged out with a lot of the brothers from Harlem, brothers from Brooklyn, and as I said earlier, you remind me of a lot of them. You remind me.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Well, you know what, man? That's an energy, though. You know, that's an energy. And I thank the Creator that I have been blessed to kind of be a harbinger of a Black love energy that I tend to connect with brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, where I go. And I think it's because the work is the foundation. You know what I'm saying? And that draws people in, and it's a familiar energy because it's always been here, right? And it's an honor to be an embodiment of that family spirit. I had a brother tell me yesterday at the Sweet Potato Pie Festival, man, you remind me of somebody. You remind me of somebody, you know. And I'm like, that's cause we know each other from somewhere, man.
Exactly.
You know, maybe it's before we was walking in this flesh, you know what I'm saying? And like you say, Chief, about the call into South Carolina, you know, when I studied Gullah and I found out that many were of the Mende stock from Sierra Leone in that area. When I did my African DNA, it was 100% Mende, Sierra Leone.
No.
Wow. Well,
you know what?
Connection we have.
Yes.
You know what, man? Man, I'm gonna say this before y'all go. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the ancestors pulling us all together. But ever since me and Chief been doing this thing with the genealogy research, we keep coming in contact with people of Mende ancestry, of this Mandinka thing. You know, we've been connected. We have been connecting to the Mali Empire, and so we already know. We already know.
Right.
It seems to be a continuation of this thing. I mean, we have found. I don't know if Chief will tell you, but I'll tell you this here right now. Before Chief might get on me later, but I'm gonna say it. We have found connections to Jeremiah Shabazz, to Elijah Muhammad. The bloodline is there. It ain't no doubt. Our ancestor, Dominic is a part of this ancestry. With my fifth great grandfather, Caesar Hart, we all connected to this man. Me and Chief are connected to this. Dominic is connected to him. This man's power, energy, ancestry, whatever, is calling us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is calling us. Y'all would be surprised. Y'all may be surprised how many of his descendants have reached out to me.
Absolutely.
That's on the strength of us putting things out on social media. You know, they contact me. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. You know, Baba Kimo, man, I know how you get excited. I'm excited too because, you know, I just love when African people who have had their identity stripped away from them are able to discover just a little bit more of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially when it's a biological inheritance, like from mama or daddy, man. You know, it's powerful. Like what Baba Kimo was saying, man, it's for us. You've been to Orangeburg. You see how it is, man. We country folk, man. We got our own way.
Old bird.
yeah. You know. Well, for me, my mama, I always tell this. My mama, she retained knowledge of a Mandinka ancestry. So I was taught that growing up anyway. My first dashiki came from Mom Dukes. And she just had this like African way. To be good was have this little African way with you too. Right. And you know, the powerful thing about it is that, like Kimo was saying, it's coming all full circle. This ancestor that he's telling you about, Caesar Hart, born around 1785. He was in Orangeburg by 1800. They used him. So he ended up having 15 boys and 4 girls that we know of. Yeah, and all those boys had 15, 20, 30 children. And so we find our lineage connecting us to a lot of people, including Elijah Muhammad, including Jeremiah Shabazz, including even DJ Ready Red from the original Ghetto Boys. That's our cousin.
Okay.
You got people like what's cousin's name?
You got Big Daddy Kane from with roots in Orangeburg. We got cousin Wilson. We got connections to 803 Fresh. Man, man, this thing is coming full circle. I don't know what the ancestors are doing to us, but they are calling us. Yeah. And now that you just said that with this Mende history, man, this Mende lineage is kicking. It's popping. When me and Chief connected, Chief had no idea that he was already connected to our ancestral family. He was already working with
in the village. I was already in the chiefdom working with family.
With the people from the Jamakoa. He was already connected, but it took me to come along and put the dots together with my DNA and everything. And man, this ancestry thing, this DNA thing, this Mende lineage, all these different things. It blows
something to it.
It is something to it. Ancestors are calling us and they're asking us to put this work in.
And by you being in Texas, I know this for a fact that you had a lot of enslaved people during the domestic slave trade after they banned it in the transatlantic trade in 1808 that was sold into Texas. You got people from all over South Carolina. So I'm willing to bet that you got at least 1 or 2 ancestors that was sold from South Carolina into Texas.
I think so too, because I look like y'all.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm gonna tell you.
I think so too. We were able to trace our lineage back to the Parker plantation in East Texas, in Jefferson, Texas, and then on my mother's side, I think Boley, Oklahoma. My sister's the historian in the family, and she has that, but we don't. I haven't been able to get past Oklahoma and Texas. And prior to that, because once we hit slavery, then we ran into a roadblock.
Oklahoma is indicative of the Seminoles. They took the Gullah Maroons to Oklahoma along with the Seminoles, and then they tried to re-enslave them, and they went down into Texas. They went down to Mexico. So there is a migration pattern.
And seeing it's my mother's side. It was my matriarchal DNA that I did. Right. And that's my mother's side. And that's that Oklahoma side, You know, and they always, you know, all black folks families say this, you know, we got a little Indian in the family. And so they would say that on my mama's side of the family, you know what I'm saying? But that when you say Seminoles, that may be what that connection is, you know what I'm saying? And so that's a possibility, you know, because like I say, Mende, Gullah, you know, and here I am back here again, and the Washington family, they're a Gullah family, you know, they're from Charleston. You know, and watch them after they really embraced African-centered education as a family. The elders began to reconnect with their Gullah roots because they came up in that generation that was like, get away from that, go integrate, go assimilate, and watch them re-embrace their family lineage, which is long and powerful. You know what I'm saying, and strong. They matter of fact, Baba and Yeye, they done been to Africa, I think 2 or 3 times in the last 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So to watch them reconnect is really cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to connecting more dots in my lineage. In our lineage.
Do that.
Hey, Baba, I mean, and then on top of that, right? You know, I've lived in Sierra Leone the last 12 years.
Yes, sir.
And the thing about it is that right now, I just sent another brother off from his tour. They give a citizenship to descendants. If you have the ancestry, you can come in and get the citizenship. And so me and my wife, we set up a tour company to help us do that. We might talk about that later on, man. So you can get African citizenship. You have your dual thing going on. But what I want to add to that is this: historically, the people who make up the Mende, they are a combination of groups, but the solid group is the Mandinka. The Mandinka came from Mali and came over here and was a conquering force, and they subdued and assimilated everybody into their lineages. It's actually that migration and that fighting that led to a lot of us getting captured. Like there's a real historical context for us to get captured. A lot of us was the warriors that was fighting back because we were getting attacked as strangers in a land that we wasn't from, but the slave trade was happening here. So we find ourselves running from Mali over here, right into the hands of captivity. So it's a long story, brother. Even the rapper Pat Poose is here right now celebrating independence today with the country. So I think that the majority, the number one ancestry DNA from African ancestry is Mende. And there's a reason. From 1750 to 1775, the highest importation directly from Africa was from here, a place called Bunce Island. And they went right to Charleston, and it was specifically for rice and indigo. Right. And so it's a thing. We're the descendants. And especially we talk about Texas too, because Oklahoma to Texas, but there were also routes straight from South Carolina right over to Washington County, Texas, like you said, Jefferson. Those areas show up in our research right there in Orangeburg. Right. Okay. The Felder family, the Coulter family, the Johnsons, they got up and went west. And they left family back. They left their roots back in Orangeburg. After they lost the Civil War, a lot of them jumped up and left. That's why Orangeburg is a black. To this day, Orangeburg is like 75% black. Yeah, man, I like that. I see. You know, majority black towns are a beautiful thing to see, beautiful thing to witness. Majority black town that's aware and proud of that is even more beautiful. And I love what's going on. I love what's going on in Oberg, you know, and that migration out of South Carolina to Texas, right, has a lot to do with Juneteenth, you know, and liberation or freedom from slavery. The announcement getting to Texas, what they call last, like we had internet or something back then, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, he was trying to diss us, you know what I'm saying? But it's a direct link because Texas was the furthest west you could go when you needed to and reestablish that slave system or strengthen that slavery system. And so there's a connection between South Carolina and Texas because the road to quote unquote freedom from slavery began in South Carolina. That's right. It didn't end in Texas, but the ceremonial aspect of it ended in Texas.
And you know, it's funny. People be trying to diss Texas like, oh, y'all was the last. You had 3 black regiments in Texas during that time.
Yeah. Yeah,
3 black regiments. So the idea that, oh, y'all was the last. No, you had 3 black regiments dead, and they were some of the ones who were announcing that, look, what y'all doing here? Y'all free.
Well, that's because people think the piece of paper did it. People think that they was in Texas waiting on the piece of paper called the Manifest Proclamation. No, our freedom was fought for, and almost 200,000 black soldiers fought for that freedom. Had they not been engaged in battle, that wouldn't happen. and so their story has been written out of the history books, you know, and that's one of the things that we bring back into the history book. I'm working on a curriculum right now called From SC to TX, The Long Road to Freedom. And I want to put in there key battles that happened between South Carolina and Texas in the chronological order that led to quote unquote emancipation from slavery.
Let me help you, if you don't mind. Let me put my hat in. Let me help you with that, because I got a bunch of information on Civil War battles that I could contribute.
Yes, we definitely need to talk then. Brother Dominique, you are the research on that project. The Uhuru Academy Oberg Coalition has just begun.
Yeah.
We need that.
We got us a project. You know what I'm saying? And y'all, I'm the board president of the South Carolina Juneteenth Freedom Festival. And shout out to the whole team, Jamal Bradley, Keywan, Tina Torres, Baba Tasky.
It's my intention to come out there for Juneteenth in Columbia.
Y'all gotta come check us out. It's June 21st this year, but we want to take it to another level. We're starting what we call in the South Carolina Juneteenth Institute, and we want to, and there's going to be a focus on education, not just understanding what Juneteenth symbolizes, but understanding and rehumanizing those people who are fighting for freedom. Because when people think about Juneteenth, they say, "Oh yeah, that's about the end of slavery." It's not. It's about the beginning of freedom, right? Right. It's about the beginning of, you know, at Emancipation Park in Houston, they had that celebration on their land. They were celebrating their land. They were celebrating building their own institutions. They were celebrating surviving from the previous year. They were finding family that they had lost. They were celebrating their elders, celebrating the children. It was about freedom. They were talking about what do we need to do to stay free, because we know who we dealing with.
Jack Yates, right?
Who we dealing with.
Jack Yates, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jack Yates. So when we talk about Juneteenth, we can't just talk about General Granger pulling up on Galveston. No, Juneteenth is about what Black people were doing with our freedom. Juneteenth is also about what the Black folk on the Sea Islands were doing. What, you know what I'm saying? Because the blueprint of what an independent Black society looks like in America was established out here.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we want to make that connection and help let the community know that freedom still needs to be protected, still needs to be maintained. It's something that still could be lost in this country. You know what I'm saying? So what can we learn from our ancestors, their mistakes and their successes, that we need to reinstitute today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you said something very, very key, man, in terms of connecting the South Carolina and the Texas thing. It's very important to do that. Orangeburg and Columbia, I believe they played a quiet role, a very key role, because it was the slave owners out there that was the richest in the state. The rice plantations got shut down as soon as the cotton gin came, and that area right there became Cotton Kingdom. Even all the way up to like 1930, Orangeburg was like number 2 in the country in terms of cotton production. You ride around Orangeburg right now, you still see cotton fields, right?
We saw some when we came out there to the festival.
Yeah.
So, right past it.
All of that to say is that some of those slave owners, like David Flavel Jamison, William Gilmore Sims, who I just mentioned earlier, they were like the most vicious Confederates you can think of, but they also were the people who we find were enslaving our direct ancestors. Right. So our ancestors came off of their plantations. And we check our bloodlines, we're Jamisons, we're Sims and Simmons and Glovers. And so we said, whoa, the same ones that started the Civil War to keep us enslaved forever they had our actual lineages in bondage.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and so we studied a lot. And then on top of that, not only studied a lot, but we make sure we teach people. Now, something happened that actually ended the war, and that was Tecumseh Sherman's march through the Carolinas. Orangeburg was burnt to the ground, and Columbia was burnt to the ground as a consequence. So that story right there really needs to be told. So, Dom, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the research. I'm down too, man. If you need me, hit me up.
Okay, that's what's up, man. Yeah, these stories need to be told. Our children need to understand the sacrifices that were made, the risks that were taken, but they also need to understand the character that was involved. You know, the courage, the honesty, the faith. You know what I'm saying? And so we could pull that out of them, right? And that's what wins. Greed isn't what wins. And that's what's being taught right now. That they're getting that money, getting to the bag. That's all that counts. By any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? And you don't win with that. You know what I'm saying? Especially not long term. You know, and so we need to show them, no, man, we come from fighters. We come from builders, you know what I'm saying, and healers, and so and we've lived it, and it's happened. We have to relive, bring those stories back, bring those stories back into our consciousness.
I said, yeah, man.
So
I think I wanted to ask you, just in general, how can people get in contact with you, and just a list of things that people can pretty much do to practically support.
All right.
A lot of things. Some of the things I do is, if I see you going live, I share. If I see
appreciate
something that's going on with the Uhuru Academy, I share them.
Right.
But other than that, what's some practical things we can do to kind of like help you out for real, man? Because what you're doing is our collective responsibility.
Yeah.
I say, well, I don't turn down nothing but my collar. You know what I'm saying? So,
like that.
Hey, one of the most practical things that you can do is make a monetary donation. We are a 501c3 organization. You know what I'm saying? So you can write it off to us. You could donate directly at $, Uhuru Academy on Cash App, or you can go to uhuruacademy.com and hit the donate button and donate that way. You can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. If you put in Baba Amin or the Uhuru Academy, you can get me that way. Message me that way. You can email me at babaamin@uhuruacademy.com or info@uhuruacademy.com. We have several programs coming up, y'all. We have our UACI Summer STEM Camp program, and that's a partnership with myself and Dr. Oya Mayat. Shout out to her and Conscious Ingenuity. We're going into our 4th year where we have our online STEM camp where young people learn the African history in STEM, and then they learn today's and the future STEM skills virtually. We send them a Google Chrome computer. We send all of our students a microbit computer, and they actually work with engineering students from Morgan State University, learning how to code, learning AI, the whole 9 yards. And then my teachers teach them African history in STEM, let them know this is our technology, just as much our technology as is anybody else. So go to UACISTEMcamp.com. The last week in June, we're doing a 2-week camp that's going to span over the last week of June and the first week of July this year, I believe. But go to UACISTEMcamp.com to check that out. Space is filling up real fast. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for additional sponsors for that program, because through sponsorships, we're able to offer it to our people for free. Right. And we want to shout out to the CAP Center at Morgan State University, the Cybersecurity Assurance and Policy Center. They fully sponsored our camp last year. This year, we want to get them some help. You know what I'm saying? Because, of course, they're being attacked in the system with this DEI stuff. You know what I'm saying? So we really want to call on more Black folk in private industry to come and sponsor the camp. And in return, we're going to shout out your business and attach your brand to something positive. So shout out to UACI STEM Camp. I mentioned the South Carolina Juneteenth Freedom Fest. We're always looking for more sponsors there. We have sponsorships for small businesses as low as $500. They may even be a $250 sponsorship package. If y'all go to JuneteenthFreedomFest.com, check out that. We're looking for volunteers as well with the Juneteenth Freedom Fest. With the Uhuru Academy online, we have our graduation coming up. Shout out to our partners, Sunchild Farms in Winston, Georgia, 50-acre Black-owned farm and event space. We'll be having our nationwide, international graduation ceremony there this year, June 6th through 8th. On the 8th, we're going to have Community Day there. So y'all please go to sunchildfarms.com or look up Sunchild Farms. We're raising money for that. Like if someone was to donate today to Uhuru Academy, it would go directly towards our graduation ceremony that we're having this year at Sunchild Farms. Be on the lookout for babaamin.com. It's not up yet, but that's where the music is going to be made available. We made a conscious vision to not put our music on Spotify, YouTube, anything like that. We want supporters, not fans. So we're going to be releasing new music, but it's going to be released through our own website where you can get the downloads directly from us and nobody else. And that's going to be on babamean.com. So we're going to be doing that. So be on the lookout for more RBG music from us, so you can support that way. Like and share our videos. Subscribe to the Uhuru Academy YouTube channel. You could do that. You can volunteer. You can also donate to the campus if you go to uascinternational.org. All right, and check out the campus. And it's time to start enrolling for next year as well. UA Online is always enrolling. UASC is always enrolling. And our adult education program, Operation Reconnect. You can go to uhuruacademy.com for that. Anybody that's 16 and up that stopped out of school and need the high school diploma, not only will we graduate you, but the most important thing you're going to get is that we're going to help you develop a plan for success. So we have the Operation Reconnect program as well. And I'm looking for partners in all these initiatives, right? Baba, y'all mentioned the land earlier, the growth spot, that sort of thing. Bring me in the train. And I would love to invite a delegation to come up here to visit UACI International, because I call this the model institution, right? And we have a farm here. Our children farm. My babies can tell you, my babies can take you in the woods and tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat. The team here at UASC International, this is a community effort. Baba Amin is just the mouthpiece, the visionary. This is a community effort. The team here at UASC International have done a great job on not only designing a schoolhouse, but also engaging children in African-centered STEM, science, technology, engineering, agriculture, in mathematics. We have a greenhouse on campus, a farm on campus. We have multiple Airbnbs that bring in additional revenue on campus. We've even put cars on Turo on campus. We have teachers who live on campus, and we pay our rent here on campus. So there's a model that to build an institution on our own land that'll work, that'll be refueling. You know what I'm saying? We just have to put in that work and have that mind state to do it.
Baba, I mean, we are witnesses to what you are doing and have done. I was very impressed with the young lady, the baby girl that was at the festival. That little young girl and her mama. That little young she was answering a bunch of your questions, I believe. But she was on point. She was on point with her history lessons, and I was very impressed by that. I know that Dominique's mother was very impressed by what she was doing out there that day. I mean, you was on fire. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Me and Dom, we right here in the Berg. Our people, the young ladies that was out there, keepers of the culture. We all together, man. We right here in the Berg. So all you got to do, if we reach out to you, you reach out to us. We here,
right?
We want to help out. We want to help out. We want to step up. We want to do our thing.
I say,
Cuz over there in Sierra Leone, you know, he got our back. So we ready, man. We ready to assist you in whatever way we can. I don't know how we can assist you, but we ready, and I know it's a grassroots type of thing. We ready, man. All you got to do is reach out.
It's grassroots, but it's universal.
Thanks.
It's universal in the sense that even African children in Africa aren't getting African-centered education. Those of us in the States that are driven to take this movement and move it forward, we are the first ones in the world. There's some in Africa that got the African-centered mind state, but even most of those are influenced by us.
Right.
And so it's a matter where it's not as local as we think, y'all. It's a universal thing. This is one of the missions of Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
I was just about to say that.
Was to completely transform the way that we viewed ourselves in the world that we lived in to an African-centered position, to a consciousness that will be cultivated through the schools that he envisioned growing, building. You understand? So it's a beautiful thing. I just wanted to end by saying, for myself, I would like to see some sustainable economics come out of this. I know what the South is, man. I know we can keep more events. I know we can do social gatherings. I know we can do some small farming, do some what do you call them, the markets, farmers markets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
There's so many things we can come together and do. But I think that what's going to happen is after this call or after this show, we're going to have to get and have a real serious conversation, strategize, and see how we can pull resources and people, and see how best we can really come up with something stronger, because South Carolina is getting the spotlight for a reason right now. It's not just because of music, it's not just because of culture, it's because of all the above is pointing right to South Carolina. And it's happening for a reason. Things are warming up in Africa right now. The African population of the United States has been sleeping too long. It needs to wake up to its African reality and responsibility. Right now, all across the continent, man, we worried that the United States is going to assassinate our brother. Burkina Faso. Yeah, and people are mobilizing right now to say, man, we're gonna march. We're gonna march on our cities. We're gonna march on the U.S. embassies. We're gonna do something, and it's creating a situation where at least our people are going to need to be informed. Even the small kids who are watching this need to be properly informed. And so I'm saying that we're living in a teachable moment. We're living in a very Africanized moment. Our ancestors have created this for us, and it's time to perform. Yeah, man, 100% with you, brother.
Yeah, good, thanks. I say, man, let's work. Let's work. You put that so eloquently, and we are going to talk. We have, matter of fact, one of our elders here, Dr. Adesanya. He actually went back and got his Liberian citizenship. This brother's over 70 years wise. Has been educating over 50 years, and he went back and got his Liberian citizenship. Got invested in some farmland, cassava farming over there, and we actually have a project on campus here where we're building he's building a cassava processing center here, where our students are going to learn how to make cassava flour and other products. He actually had a great cassava harvest here last year on campus, and the whole key is figuring these processes out here, then transplanting these processes over there and building a bridge, to happen. I think commerce through education is wise. Every black farm I see is a school to me. Every black farm I see is a school. What you're growing is your curriculum, and we can build bridges between here, the Caribbean, and Africa, you know what I'm saying, through these pipelines where we're even sending students to different as exchange students to our different campuses and learning these skills and taking them back home. These things can be done. And then we allow our students, as they grow in it and they become aware of what's going on, they're going to build the systems that are going to work. Right? We're going to offer them ideas and concepts. We haven't done it, but we're going to offer them the concepts. They're going to do the application. And when that application happens, then we're going to work through the mistakes. Then we're going to work through Black unity is a process, not an event.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And so it's going to take a commitment to a process, right, in order to make these things happen. But we have everything that we need to get this thing going and to build on to what's already there. The great work that you're doing. The great work that Baba's doing, Dominique is doing, that I'm doing, others that are out here putting in work. Our work will unify us. We're not going to all like each other. We're going to do each other wrong. We're going to have lapses in character. We're going to make mistakes, but we have to put the mission in the center so we can work around and work through those issues that we're going to have. But when you take your ball and go home, as soon as you find out I snuck and sipped on some vodka last week, then you wasn't really dedicated. You got to question your dedication to the mission in the first place. Leave me on the side of the front. Keep this thing going, okay? And that's and we'll be much better off when we get to that level.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So, any last words, Dom? We'll get up out of here.
This is another great one for the books, man. And I'm always fired up and pumped up, but now I feel like a phoenix now, man. I'm radiating with fire now, man. And like I said, me and my Dukes, we gonna come up and we gonna visit you, and I'm going to make sure that me and you connect on this Civil War, like talking about those Civil War battles, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that, Dom. Let's
I got some jewels for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. You know, Dominique is currently serving as an education department director. So this is going to be great for him, man. It's going to be dope. Go ahead, Baba. Sorry.
Know it too. Think about it. Yeah.
No. I just wanted to say, man, I'm just glad that we are collaborating together. Like I said, me and Don, we right here in the Berg. We ain't that far from Columbia. You already been here. You know where we at.
Yeah. Right down the street.
We got the cosmic green spot ready to jump off, man. We here, man. The connection has already been made. Let's go to work.
I say.
Yeah, man. Fort March, I say. So, with no further ado, of course, everyone knows out there that this is the Gullah House Show, brought to you by the Gullah Nation of North America, a nonprofit 501c3 organization, headquartered and based in Orangeburg, South Carolina. That's right, Orangeburg, South Carolina. They try to leave us out, but we told them we ain't going nowhere. You understand? So that's what it is. Shout out to you, Baba Amin, again, man. Shout out to the whole Yahuwah Academy. Y'all heard it. Y'all know how to get in contact. Go ahead and make some donations. Go ahead and reach out if you got some knowledge you want to contribute. Whatever it is, Yahuwah Academy belongs to African people. And we all have the same common responsibility to support the efforts to say that African-centered education meets every home, every African home. All right, y'all. So we're going to get up out of here. We'll see y'all next time. Salute.
Peace.